Hello, my name is Roy Gillis, founder and CEO of Lighthouse Streaming. Over the last 4 years, we've had some tremendous successes, none of which could have been accomplished without you, our clients, and our viewers. From my family and the staff of Lighthouse Streaming, thank you.
My name is Tashay Sayers.
Hello and welcome back into Centex Primetime. I am your host, Jalen Gillis, getting ready to take you through the primetime topics in sports, not just in the Central Texas area, but from all around the nation. Hope everybody's doing okay today. It is Tuesday afternoon / Tuesday evening we got going here. We've got the Final Four teams set for both the men's side of the bracket and the women's side of the bracket. We've got NBA going on in full force. They came down with the suspensions, and it wasn't that bad for the Pistons and Timberwolves. I see a couple more teams boxing if they only going to get one game. We'll talk about that here today as well. We'll talk some more about who's going forward in the NBA, who's going forward in March Madness. The men's side of the bracket will be playing on Saturday. The women will be playing at the end of the weekend as well, going into Monday. South Carolina versus UCLA versus UConn. They are set, and we're here to talk about it, folks. I want to thank everybody for tuning in with us here today on Centex Sports TV / Centex Sports Network. Over on YouTube, you can check us out there. Hit that subscribe button. Also, you can click the bell. You can get notified when we go live here, 5 to 7 p.m. weekdays right here on Centex Sports Network. You can also watch with us on Facebook and as well on X or Twitter, whichever one you decide to call it. You can watch Centex Primetime weekdays, 5 to 7 p.m. right here. Joining me in studio, we've got the full crew in-house with us. I've got to my left, Rocky Miller in the house with us, and also joining in, Mr. Wayne Walker, also in studio with us today. Fellas, what is going on?
Hey, happy Tuesday, Central Texas, the world, all over.
Man, it's a great time of sports, man. You got football is buzzing because of all the, the draft is approaching.
Yeah.
We got, I think Shador has his pay and coming up here shortly. We got the NBA is winding down.
Yeah.
And the games are meaning much more. Saw my Lakers last night get much needed victory.
Man, we don't have to talk about that.
But you're right. I mean, it's the beginning of baseball. Hockey is about to end.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you get your full buffet of sports right now.
Yeah, this is definitely one of the better times of the year. Only thing we're missing is football. But they got UFL going on.
I watched some UFL this weekend.
And then you got the NFL meetings going on.
Yeah, NFL meetings, combine. Like you said, the pro day just happened. We got the draft right around the corner, so still plenty to talk about.
They're trying to ban my favorite play.
Yeah. The old tush pusher. We'll talk about that too. Trying to ban it. They tabled the talks for right now is what they said, tabled the talks. But, I thought that was kind of crazy. They're trying to ban a move just because everybody else can't do it as good. But, hey, once you start winning, they start trying to come up with a couple other things for you. Folks, we're going to dive right into this, starting with this tournament and this bracket. The Final Four is set for both sides, both the men and women's side. Last night, UConn was able to get a victory over USC. It was bittersweet watching the game. I'm glad that Paige Beckers is moving on to the Final Four in her final season at UConn, but it kind of hurt because I've been waiting since the bracket got set for that rematch of Paige Beckers versus Juju Watkins. We did not get to see that because of Juju's injury. She's out for the season. But UConn advances. They'll be taking on UCLA, who took out LSU on Sunday. On the other side, the Final Four, South Carolina, Don Staley, back in it once again. 5th straight trip to the Final Four for Don Staley in South Carolina. Texas, the Texas Longhorns will be playing them as they took out TCU last night. Madison Booker and the squad came to play. They took out TCU. They'll be heading to take on South Carolina in the Final Four. On the men's side of the bracket, fellas, I know we all in this group together, and my prediction of Alabama getting the upset did not come true, but it's all right. I'm still holding on to a little bit of faith that Florida will be able to come out here and pull this one out. But we've got all number 1 seeds on the men's side of the bracket. For the first since 2008, I believe that all number 1 seeds have been there. Auburn versus Florida, of 2 powerhouses in the SEC, will be playing first in the Final Four in San Antonio. Then the night game on Saturday will be Duke versus Houston, a game that I cannot wait to watch. 2 powerhouse programs in Duke. The only star, I feel like, real star left in this Final Four is Cooper Flagg playing for the Duke Blue Devils. So, fellas, first off, when y'all watched the games this past weekend, which ended up being some really good games, Wayne, I know Tech had you sweating a little bit.
Well, we can talk about that too.
Yeah. had you sweating a little bit against Florida. I'll start with them. Florida came out with the win over Tech in what was a comeback win. I thought with about 5 minutes left, I mean, Tech they were dominant for majority of that second half.
5-25 with a 10-point lead.
10-point lead with 5 minutes left.
Fellas, if you can't hit free throws on front end and 1-and-1s, that'll make 2 if you hit both of them.
Yeah.
And you get that team an opportunity, and you're not going to be able to sustain, especially with a team that has a dominant player like Clayton that can come back and hit threes right off the dribble and shoot. So, I mean, I'm disappointed, and I picked Florida to win it all, but if Texas Tech would have beat Florida, I would have been happy.
Yeah,
you know
regardless.
what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Little broker.
Yeah.
Well, you would have took you out of the running for the money. You
Yeah.
in the running for the money.
I love my students.
Yeah.
I got plenty of money from them. So. But for sure, man, you gotta be able to close the deal. You gotta hit those free throws, and from the Texas Tech angle, in my point of view, if you can't do that, you're not gonna be able to win. And that was their demise. Yeah, that's what brought them down. They couldn't. They got to the free throw 3 times, and on 3 1-and-1s, they missed the front end of all 3 of them.
You know, I just think they went cold at the wrong time because they also wasn't making any shots down the stretch. Yeah, the Williams kid, he shot several threes that just rimmed out. I just think down the stretch they got cold. I didn't think they got tight. I think, you know, Clayton did some miraculous shooting down the stretch. And like you say, Walker, if they just make those free throws,
it's game.
It's game.
Because you think
because they
about,
could put them in a situation where they didn't have to foul. Like that's what happened.
They didn't have to.
And that's the thing. If you go and you take you have a 1-and-1 and you don't make none, then another team come down and they hit 3. You think about it. You do the mathematics. You're a money man. For that show. I know you're a money man. So you just the logistics.
Yeah, the math. You know, and that's what I was saying is that they had several times 2 times in particular where they get fouled, they get no points on that trip, shoot, get a 3, happens again, shoot, get a 3. Now you take a 10-point game, a game that was a very lopsided 10-point lead. Now it's down to 4.
Exactly.
And now it's a ball game. So again, but I thought Tech played great.
They played above their heads.
Oh, for sure.
But when you play above your heads, you expect to win. And you know, the one thing about pressure is, man, your back end gets tight.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And everything gets tight on you.
Yeah.
You know, especially the back end. Nobody wants to be the hero. Yeah. I was that guy that wanted to be the hero, though. So I'm going to catch big passes. I'm going to do this. You know, but you got to be able to say, hey, I want to be fouled. Yeah. And I want to go to the free throw. Foul me. Because I want to close you out. Yeah. And I want to be the hero. But we didn't have a hero.
You know, I think of all the teams that played this week, I think Duke played the best.
Oh, no doubt,
man.
No doubt.
Duke played the best. But I have to ask this question: did they have the best matchup, or did they play the best? Alabama, when you really think about it, Alabama is the 3rd best team in the
SEC.
In the SEC.
Yeah.
So when you think about that, you say, well, yeah, they had a great record, they had a great season, but they still finished 3rd. So at the end of the day, how would the 3rd place team in fare of ACC fare against Florida or Houston? I mean, and they didn't have that luxury of playing the 3rd best team. They played Michigan State, which was arguably the best team in the Big Ten.
Oh, for sure.
And then Houston ended up playing Tennessee,
which is another SEC team.
Which is another SEC school. Was clearly 3rd or 4th. You know,
for sure.
And like you say, I thought Houston played great. I thought they had them. To me, Houston and Auburn had the more impressive wins. It just looked like Duke played better.
They looked dominant from as soon as the tip-off started. They were dominant. You see why all of those guys are 5 stars that's coming into this Duke program. Cooper Flagg didn't even have to do too much. You didn't have to overwork. You didn't have to overshoot. They got Tyrese Proctor. They got the Knipple kid that can knock down threes. And that Duke team, I agree with you. I think they probably had the best win, the most convincing win, because they're playing an Alabama team that had the most explosive offense in the country. We looked at Sears just coming off a 30-something point game where he hit 10 threes in the game.
He wasn't shooting well.
Oh, no. And I went against my head originally. I wanted to put, when I first made my bracket, I put all number one seeds in there, and I said, I got to take somebody out because it's never just all number one seeds. Somebody's got to go. And so I figured, well, if Duke runs into Bama, they have the guy that can get the most hot out of all the smaller teams in there in Sears. But, I mean, they shut him out. And once they shut him out, it was over with.
But you have to have something other than Sears. You have to have scores.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's what Duke has. Duke has 3 or 4 players that can get you 12 to
Proctor,
20 points.
Knipple,
You know,
Cooper Flag.
So you're not able to just say, hey, I'm going to take this guy out.
Yeah.
Sears, they were able to take him out. And it's the same thing with Tennessee. If you take Ziegler out, then, you know, that's your main scorer. So with Tech, if you take Williams and
JT Toppin.
and Toppin out, then you don't have anybody else that can score.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's all about now with the matchups come the in-game adjustments that you make from game to game. So I think Coach is doing a heck of a job. So when you talk about Houston playing Duke, now you're going to have a lockdown type of team that plays defense. So we'll see what those adjustments – and I was always told defense wins championships. Yep. So we'll see. But Duke has some dominant type of offensive players as well, but – we'll see.
Well, one thing I'll say this, okay? Bama getting up and down the floor, in the grand scheme of things, that helped Duke out. It made it a less physical game for them.
For sure.
Right.
They're going to have to win that Houston game in a phone booth.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And that's why I say with defense, because Houston is 90 feet of pressure. You know what I'm saying? They're going to play you for
the whole game.
And their big guys.
And they bangers.
And their big guys are way more mobile.
They bangers.
Roberts,
They're way more mobile. And guess what? We'll find out, can Cooper Flag defend a big man now? Because that's what we haven't really seen. He's been able to play really help side defense, and I really wanted. I think Auburn is going to be a great matchup for them, even if they win too, because
Johnny Broom.
I think Auburn got back to playing well because in the SEC tournament they end up losing it, but they weren't playing their best ball going down the stretch. So in my bracket, that's why I picked against them, because they started to play not like Auburn did in the beginning of the season, and they lost a couple of games. So that was my reason for picking against Auburn, but now they didn't got to playing the way they play, going through Broom.
Yes.
And that's the thing. They have to go through him to be successful. And then all the other guys can be role players and just play.
And that's the deal. They have what I would consider Auburn has dynamic role players, meaning that when they're playing off of Broom, they can look like lead guys.
Right.
You know what I mean? When they're playing off of him. But in a game where you don't have that presence in the middle, I don't know if they can be lead guys. You know what I mean? Because, again, you got 4 guys out there that think they can take everybody one-on-one. And in a lot of games, that doesn't provide any continuity on offense. Kind of like what I saw Texas Tech experience down the stretch.
Or even Alabama.
There was no continuity where, in my opinion, Williams should have posted up and they should have got, or Toppin should have posted up and he got the ball into him.
Right.
Where the Tech guards had it going, and they tried to keep it going down the stretch when they really should have, shown some continuity.
Sometimes you just have to defer. Sometimes you just have to defer, and a lot of that is coaching too. You know what I'm saying? Because if I'm a coach, I'm calling timeout, and that's where we going. We going down. We gonna take the ball down. We gonna get fouled.
Yeah.
I'd rather have a 2-foot shot than a 3-point shot. You know
and I think that's ultimately how Auburn was able to hold off
Michigan State.
Michigan State is
yeah.
because I think they had cut it to 6
Mm-hmm.
with about 3 minutes left. Bruce Pearl calls a timeout right after steal, and he runs their play. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Get back to it, yeah.
We're going to All-American. We're going to All-American.
You know,
We got who's got us here.
Yeah.
So that's what we're going to do.
Yeah,
We're going to
yeah.
go with what we know.
They run their play. So I think, like I say, I look for both games to be very competitive. I'm not a real I've never been a guy. I hope Houston is able to pull it off for about several hundred reasons.
Yeah. Of course.
And I definitely want Auburn to win because I have them picked for the championship. But I can't wait. If Florida loses, man, it puts a lot of y'all out of there.
Yeah,
man.
it puts me right on out of there if Florida loses. I'm hoping they don't. And I think that's going to be an interesting matchup with that Florida because obviously Johnny Broome being their best player and Florida's strength outside of Walter Clayton, we even saw it in the Tech game, is the size that they have. We saw them when the game started getting tight. Most teams go small. Florida went bigger. They said, we're going to win this game by out-rebounding you. If you do miss the shot, you have no chance of getting a rebound for, I think the last 2 minutes. They went with a bigger lineup, and they said, we're just going to bank on y'all missing, and if you miss, no chance on you getting a rebound. We're going to go on the other end.
So they both play in the SEC conference, right?
Mm-hmm.
So who was the winner of those games? Who?
Florida took out Auburn, I believe. They only played once, I guess because there's so many teams in the SEC.
Okay.
They only played one time, and Florida won in that one matchup that they had against Auburn. So it's going to be interesting. I don't know which way. I talked about it yesterday on the show. Which one is a better scenario? You get the team that you've played before, that you're kind of familiar with, that you've got to see before, or you're Duke and Houston, where you've never even looked each other's way throughout the entire season, and now you got this clash of the Titans kind of matching up.
My thing is like if you got whooped before,
Mm-hmm.
man, you coming out swinging.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just like old street brawl, right?
Yeah.
If a guy done whooped me this time, I don't, I got to do something different. So maybe this time I'm coming out swinging. I ain't gonna let him swing first. I'm gonna swing first this time.
Yeah, and that's what I was thinking with that Auburn squad. I think they're more dangerous now coming back, losing against Florida, having a great win where your best player goes out, he comes back in the game like Willis Reed at the tunnel, hits a shot immediately, gets you, the team morale is up, and now you get a chance to take on this Florida team who kind of just had to survive against a Texas Tech.
Because you frightened. You threatened by this team because this team already beat you.
Mm-hmm.
You understand what I'm saying? So now it's more urgency to get things done, and then you get to go back and look at all the things that you done wrong in the previous game, and so you say, "Well, man, we not." So that's my way of looking at it. You know, I don't know what's gonna happen, and then Florida could come out with this. Hey, we done it this time. We know we can do it, and they just may feel superior and know they can beat them, and you just have to improve on the things that you got wrong in the first.
In these kind of games, I like to look at the team that has the most, same way I look at football.
Mm-hmm.
How many different ways can a team win? I think Florida's in a situation where we saw them. They really only can win one way.
Walter
Clayton has to have a great shooting night, right? And then they have to get some production from the inside. Any of those things kind of fall off. They play a lot of players, but I don't think their players are very effective.
Yeah, because you have to get at least 25 from him.
I mean, at least.
Because that's what happened in the Tech game. He didn't take off into them last few minutes, and then he hit 3 threes.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
And then he ended up with 30.
Yeah, and he ended up with 30.
Yeah.
So he has to get at least 25. But the thing about Auburn and Bruce Pearl is a defensive type coach.
Yeah.
He's a defensive minded coach. And I think that Auburn has the personnel to kind of take a guy away. And if I'm gonna take a guy away, that's the guy I'm gonna take away.
That's what I was getting to, is that Auburn has several different kind of styles they can win a game. Of course they can win with because I don't think anybody matches up well against Broome that Florida has.
No.
Right? And a lot of his action is going to be close to the basket. But then they have another big guy, Cartwright, I think. Yeah. And then they have several dynamic wings that I I just don't see how they defend those wing players from Auburn. Florida defends those wing players.
Well,
but again,
they beat them before.
well,
So-
here's the deal: fouls and a poor shooting night, I think,
Will take you out.
Will take a team like Auburn out, but I don't think you can blow them out. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So they're
So
going to
they're
be
gonna
always
always be in the game.
They're going to be always be right there.
They play a slow style of basketball. They're going to throw it into the post. They're going to be physical on defense. So it's hard to even get the game away from a team like that. In Florida, like you're saying, I mean, we watched it with, like you just
And
said,
then
against
when
Tech.
I think Michigan State did at some point have a 10-point lead against Auburn early in the game. It went away so quick.
That was the first half.
Yeah.
That
'Cause
went
they-
away.
Because say that don't matter.
But then they locked them down after that.
yeah.
They held them to the lowest percentage they shot all year. So that's
And
why I
Michigan
say
State got
this-
stars on their team,
that's
too,
what
with
I'm
Jace
saying.
Richardson.
And you're talking about the best team in the Big Ten.
Yeah.
And you're talking about a coach that has experience and has never
Izzo.
lost in the Elite Eight.
Yeah.
He has never lost in the Elite Eight. So I'm looking on that. I picked Michigan State because of the fact that I seen the way Auburn was playing. But Bruce Pearl is a good coach. He made them refocus, and they've been taking care of business in the NCAA tournament.
And he has so many players. Man.
There's so many players that he plays. So that's a good thing about Auburn too. Auburn they about 9 deep.
Yeah.
When you can play 9
Yeah, they
guys,
set Jones, their lead guard, down for like 10 minutes in the second half.
Yeah.
So
Johnson came in and played 25 minutes off the bench. It's only 40 minutes in the game.
Yeah. So when you think about it, their lead guard, was sitting there. Like I say, I think Auburn has the formula to win the game. That this is basketball. There's no guarantee they will win.
Yeah.
They had a formula to win. And I think Houston, they have the formula to stop the kind of, not stop, but contain the kind of team that Duke is. And we'll find out if Duke can play that rock 'em. I think, so in this whole tournament, I do think Duke had a very favorable.
Yes. That's
Right.
and that's what I was getting to
But that's the thing about being the number 1 seed
overall. You're supposed to get that.
I thought Florida
Favorite.
was the number 1 seed overall.
No.
I think
Duke-
it was Duke. I think Duke was the
Duke
number
is
one
number one
overall
seed.
seed.
Okay.
I think then it was Florida, Auburn, and Houston was last. So
Yeah, because they were talking about Auburn got put in the toughest circumstance. When you go through a tournament and you beat Izzo and what was the other gentleman? The guy who's won the last 2, UConn, the guy from UConn.
Florida's the one that beat UConn.
Oh, Florida beat UConn.
With,
Okay.
with Dan Hurley, yeah. But
Yeah.
they had a tough one too. But like you said, Auburn had a tough Creighton team that gets an upset every single year. They took out a Michigan team, who was the second best team in the Big Ten. Then you play Michigan State and Tom Izzo right after that. So they're battle tested moving through it. Duke, like you said, I'm agreeing with you. I think Duke is the most talented team left in this tournament. But going through the ACC and the type of season that the ACC had, probably the worst basketball season the ACC has had in 20 or 30 years maybe. Have they even played anything near the type of physicality that they're getting ready to play once they play Houston? Houston is similar to Auburn, is a very in-your-face team. Their bigs are physical. Their bigs are mobile, like you alluded to. I think, in just my opinion, I think it might be an upset brewing. I think Duke is clearly the best team left in here. But as we get closer and closer, I'm leaning towards Houston possibly getting an upset there because I just haven't seen it from this Duke guys facing that type of pressure
I
just
picked it
yet.
in my bracket. So
Yeah,
I picked Houston.
yeah.
to
So
beat
did I.
Duke.
So did I.
So-
Well, let me see let me check my people to see what the point spread is because I'm interested in seeing what
Right
the point
now it's
spread.
at 5.5.
Duke.
I'm looking. Yeah, 5.5 for Duke.
Oh, that's a great value.
5.5 for Duke.
That's a great value.
yeah.
I'm taking Houston on that one all day.
And the potential. I mean, anywhere you play Duke, it's not really an away game because Duke's got fans everywhere. But San Antonio is much closer to Houston
man.
than it is
It's gonna be rocking. Yeah, it's
to
gonna
North
be rocking,
Carolina.
man. It's gonna be
So
rocking.
it's gonna be rocking in there.
Yeah.
Their fans
how
are gonna
much?
be in
And
there.
I ask you this, Wayne. How much of that 5 point? Because I didn't see 5 points. I watched both teams play the entire tournament. I didn't see a 5 point difference in those teams.
I don't
Is that
either.
the Duke name?
That's the Duke name, and that's the Cooper flag, and that's everybody riding how Duke has played up to this point. Up to this point, and like you said, Duke has had a very favorable schedule up to this point. But they hadn't had anybody that's gonna play them 90 feet down the floor. They ain't had nobody that's going to put bodies on them.
Nope.
They ain't had nobody that's going to play man-to-man in your face. They ain't had nobody that's going to foul you hard. They ain't had none of that, but they're about to get that.
Juwan Roberts is probably, and I mean, he's only 6'8", but he's probably one of the most physical players in the tournament. And through this, and he's been like that for the last couple of years. He's been that back line of defense for Houston these last few years. Cooper Flagg's going to have to come to play. I know he can play. I know we've seen the highlights of him doing this and doing that. Seen the highlights of him versus Team USA in the summer and all that stuff. What can you do when somebody that's much less talented than you, but is going to be in your face the whole game and is going to attack you on the offensive end?
And I think all 4 of these teams has been number 1 in the nation at some
all 4.
point.
Yeah, all 4 of them have.
All 4 of them.
That's interesting.
Yeah, and that's what made it so, and that's the reason why I wanted, like I said before, I wanted to pick all 1 seeds to go, but I was too scared to do that because somebody's got to get upset in there. But I'm glad that we got all 1 seeds in there because I think this is going to be one of the better Final Fours that we've watched in some years because of the level of basketball.
Every one of them has been ranked number 1 in the nation
throughout the season. Yeah,
and this is the thing: Houston has a chip on their shoulder because they got a 1 seed. But they were the 4th ranked 1 seed, you know. And then you got to talk about, so they felt like they got disrespected from jump. Okay, then you have them playing against Duke, and now everybody's picking Duke against them
automatically.
I mean that gives you some type of motivation. So I'm going with Houston.
Yeah, I like Houston in this matchup. I think just the physicality, the level of shot making. The championship experience. There's only going to be one person on the floor out there that's won a national championship, and that's L.J. Cryer, who's the best player for Houston when he won it. When he won it with Baylor. So he's going to be the only person out there with championship experience, and he's been playing like a player with championship experience throughout this whole tournament. Whenever they needed a bucket from somebody, Cryer was the guy. Even when he had 30 in the Sweet 16, and then going back to them just blowing out Tennessee, he was able to keep those guys level-headed out there. He was able to get timely shots. And I think that coach is a great coach as well, and he's probably the least talked about coach that's in this Final Four. So he's coming in with a chip on his shoulder as well. And this Houston team was a team that was one of the teams that could have won it all last year, and they got upset in the Sweet 16. Yeah, Calvin.
Well, people say they got upset, but let's be fair. Shea was hurt.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I mean, that took it out. He was their leader, and that took him out of the run.
That took them out. Yeah.
Once he got hurt.
That kind of when you. Wasn't he the Big 12 Player of the Year or something like that?
I believe so.
Yeah, but I see redemption for Akeem, the Dream.
Yeah.
I see some redemption from Houston getting there.
So
and
what I'm looking at is the over-under on Houston. I mean, the over-under on the total for Duke is set at 71 points. I don't know that Duke can score 71 points. They'd have to shoot it really well to score 71 points.
The thing about Duke is they have multiple scores, though.
Yeah.
Because Knipple or whatever and Flagg and then Proctor, they got guys that can play. And then they got these guys, they got these tall guys underneath that's rebounding, offensive rebounding, defensive rebounding, and they throwing lobs to and all kinds of stuff. So to me, they do have everything that you need, but I'm curious to see how they're going to play with that pressure on them all the time because the body takes a toll. When you got somebody that's steady leaning on you, that takes a toll on you. That's just like me playing football and somebody bump and run and all night. That takes a toll and instead of you getting a free release. Free release means you're getting a free release and you can run all day. But when somebody's leaning on you and putting the body on you and putting hands on you all day, that takes a toll on your body.
Yeah,
and that's the same in basketball. If somebody's putting that forearm on you and they playing you 90 feet down the floor, that takes a toll on you.
Yeah, I think
you bring out an aspect of looking at these games. Arizona was able to give them a run for their money.
Man.
And we know what Arizona was in the Big 12. They were nice, but you know what I mean? They didn't have a season that Houston had.
Yeah, and Houston blew them out.
Yeah. Caleb Love gave them that chance, and I knew they were going to have at least a puncher's chance in that game against Duke because Caleb Love been playing against Duke his whole college career pretty much before he transferred from North Carolina over to Arizona. And Houston's got somebody that can be like that. Nell J. Cryer, somebody that's an elite shot maker at the guard position as well. So I think, like you said, I think that 5.5 points is a good line to maybe pick something up on because I liked Houston in the game already, but with 5.5 points, I might have to get in there because this is going to be a game that comes down to that last.
Houston straight up.
Yeah,
with the 5.5, yeah, I'm definitely.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm thinking. I'm like, man, that might. Yeah. Would it be in San Antonio too? So it's the closest that anybody's going to have to a home game out of all the Final Four teams in that. So I think that's going to be a great matchup. Both those games are on Saturday. At the Florida-Auburn game is at 5 o'clock. The Duke and Houston game will be at 8 o'clock. So, fellas, next time we meet up here, the games will all be decided. Who do we see being that last team to be able to cut down the nets out of these Final Four teams that we all see matched up here?
If I have to pick, I have to go with my original pick, which was Auburn. I think right now they're the deepest team. They're the strongest team. And I think coming down the stretch, they have the best combination of matchups because I think they match up well against Florida. And if Houston or Duke make it to the final game, I think they have the firepower to stand toe-to-toe with either one of them.
Yeah.
Well, for me, I'm going to go with my original pick, which was Florida. I just think that they played 2 close games. And when you get this far in the tournament, you can't chance anything. So they know they probably should have lost the last game.
Yeah.
So now they had this sense of urgency that, hey, we got to get it done. We have to get it done. We have to play all 4 quarters. We can't take no breaks. So hopefully those 2 scares that they got the previous 2 games would scare them into going and playing a more efficient game and starting off from the beginning and playing hard and not leaving anything to chance. So I'm going to go with Florida.
Yeah, I'm going to have to agree with you on that one. Florida was my original pick in this one, and I still like Florida being able to take it all. I think the combination of the depth that they have on their team, the combination of the elite shot making they have with Walter Clayton, and then the size that they have, I think is a great combination to be able to come out with a victory against not only Auburn, but if Houston does win or if Duke wins, I think Florida has the same amount of physicality that can match a Houston. I think they have enough depth to be able to play as many guys as a Duke. So I think Florida has favorable matchups in all of this. But like I said, this is going to be one of the most entertaining Final Fours I feel like I've watched in a while because we're going to get elite basketball play from the Final Four and the championship game with both of those guys, both of these being number 1 seeds. So I can't wait to be able to watch these games. The Final Four games are on Saturday. Like I said, Florida and Auburn are playing the first one. A rematch of the 2 top teams in the SEC playing against each other. Then Duke versus Houston will close it out in San Antonio in the Final Four, and we will get the championship game on Monday, I believe. So I can't wait to see those games and really looking forward to that. I want to switch over to talk about the women's side of the bracket a little bit here as those Final Four teams have been set. Before I talk about those Final Four teams in the women's side of the bracket, I want to talk about one of the better women players and just kind of what this conversation brings in Olivia Miles, the guard that plays for Notre Dame. Notre Dame got eliminated by TCU, I believe that was, this weekend. Olivia Miles was projected to be I think a top 3 pick in the WNBA draft this year, and she has elected to come back to school and go into the transfer portal. And so that brings the conversation up that we're going to have a lot when it comes to the women athletes, especially since they have to stay for 4 years. Does it make sense to rush and go to the league? Most people, hey, I got a chance to go to the league. People saying with Cooper Flagg, he was saying, I want to come back to Duke and I want to be able to be one of those Duke guys that stay. And everybody was like, nah, you got the league. You got the number 1 pick already set up. There's no reason to come back. Olivia Miles is going to be the number 2 or 3 pick in the draft, and she is elected to come back to college and get in the transfer portal. And obviously, everyone is pointing to NIL having a lot to do with that. She's about to get a bag getting into this transfer portal, whichever school she decides to go. She's one of the best players in the country. She could have went to the WNBA draft. She would have been a number 1 pick if Paige Beckers wasn't coming out, I feel like. So with her going to be 2 or 3, she's still elected to come back to college, and that's because of the NIL deal. Not only is she coming back, but she's getting in the transfer portal to see, okay, how much money can I make my last swing at this in college, my last chance of really this big stardom, because a lot of the times the women, unfortunately, when they go to the WNBA, aren't as big as stars as when they were in college. You think back to the Maya Moores and the Brittany Grinders and all these players that were just huge, monumental stars in college, and they go to the WNBA and it kind of dies down some. Is this what we're looking at for the transfer portal and NIL?
It's a big difference between the men and the women.
Yeah.
Now she can get drafted second pick in the WNBA draft, and she gonna make less than $80,000 a year.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Cooper Flagg gonna get endorsements, which he's already got them.
Mm-hmm.
He's already got them. But then you going in and you finna make about $30 million too.
Yeah.
So that's the difference. So if I'm Cooper Flagg, I go.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm Olivia, I'm a graduate student. I get to go have fun. I get to stay in school, have fun, and just work on my craft. I don't even have to go to class if I don't want to.
Yeah.
I have to enroll, and I can work on my graduate classes or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But I can still go make $200,000 somewhere.
Easy.
I can go make $200,000. That's more than I'm gonna get paid in the WNBA.
That's more than their first contract.
So why wouldn't I do it?
Yeah.
So that's the difference. So people saying I think it's smart.
Yeah, I think it's a great move.
I think it's a smart move.
Yeah.
To go get paid and just play basketball, and I can get better. I can get better at what I do, better at my craft, and I get to work on my game a little bit more, and then I get a chance to redeem myself and go kind of win a national championship. I get to pick and choose where I want to go. In the WNBA, she don't get to pick and choose where she want to go.
Mm-mm.
But in this NIL, in this transfer portal, she gets to pick where she wants to go, and she gets to go pick whoever's going to pay her the most.
Well,
Yeah.
I think it's just a matter of economics.
Yeah, for sure.
You look at
We all know that.
yeah. You got to understand, if she graduates and goes to the NBA, WNBA, her salary will be between $64,000 and $76,000 a year for a rookie. That's the max you can make.
Mm-hmm.
You divide that by 12, that's about $6,000 a month. I think she probably is going to demand more than that in the NIL deal at any college that she goes to.
Any of them.
So why would you take a haircut like that when you can probably go and demand maybe $250,000 as an NIL player to you have a lot of perennial programs that are struggling. What could a player like that do at Baylor for their program?
Man.
Now that Juju's hurt, USC's going to be looking for a player to bridge the gap.
Yeah, that's the first team I thought of.
Well, I think the girl from Florida State's probably going to USC because she signed with Clutch Management.
Oh, yeah.
But you got to think about it. If I'm Olivia, I want to go somewhere where I want to be the star. She already was the number 2 player in
Notre Dame, behind Hannah Hidalgo.
I'm the man. I'm the one. But at the same time, she could be looking for something totally different. She could be saying, hey, I want to go win a national championship as well. So if you want to go win a national championship, you go somewhere where you have a Juju Watkins and you have a team that you can surround yourself with that's going to compete for a national championship. Or you might want to go play with Don Staley. You never know.
Or you might want them to get the money right at Notre Dame.
Yeah.
And I don't understand why Notre Dame. I wouldn't even let it get to her putting that out.
Me either.
You know what I'm saying? If you coming back to school, you coming
because
back
the
to
conversation.
School,
because here's why it gets.
and
here's
Notre
why
Dame
it gets
should
to
have
that
more
point.
money than anybody.
Here's why.
Exactly.
Here's why it gets to that point. Well, I go to my coach and I say, Coach, I need more money. I need some more money. And the coach says, I can't discuss money. I can't talk about money with you. Because that's the rule in the NBA right now.
In the NIL.
In the NIL. And so today that's the rule. And so the player says, okay, Coach, you can't talk it over with me. I'll put my name in the transfer portal. I wish there was people talk about loyalty in these situations, NIL players. I think everybody has to adjust their mindset to this. Nobody wants to pay players any more than they have to now that they realize they have to pay. When it was brown bag money,
Everybody was paid. It didn't matter how much they paid. But now, because you had your alumni, you had your dirty alumni, they come out and say, "Hey man, and you can go talk to them. Hey, old Walter, man, Walter." And Walter, a billionaire, millionaire, we got this guy, man, that we really want, man.
if we get hands on $20,000, we can get it.
We can get him. Yeah.
It's a whole different ball game right now.
I'm thinking Notre Dame should have more money. They got the collection play going around.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? They got tuition. They got everything. I mean, they got why?
And the athletic program got a lot of money for making it to the national championship.
But Walker, when they say
contract.
we're Notre Dame,
Yeah.
That's why Notre Dame played. They did what? They played in the national championship.
Yeah, they played in the national championship.
Okay, and to continue to play in the national championship, they're gonna have to come out their pockets.
Yeah. Yeah.
and, well, see, so Notre Dame has had success in football with none of their players entering the transfer portal. This is documented. They've had tremendous success. I don't know if it's due to loyalty, due to Freeman, I don't know. So they haven't lost any players in the last 3 years to the transfer portal, right? But at the same token, they have a pretty stout NIL collective as well.
They don't have to disclose anything either because they're a private school.
Yeah.
And I think that when you made it to the championship game of football, all of those conferences got a big lump sum for making it to it. And Notre Dame's not in the conference. So all of that money
went to them.
Went directly to them.
They have their own NBC contract.
Their own.
So you just think about it. They don't have to disclose what they pay anybody in the NIL. Yeah. So they can go to their players individually and say, hey, say Junior, Leroy, whoever. If you stay here, Leroy.
But I think
we willing to give you $200.
And they reportedly got about $20 million for making that playoff run too.
Yeah. Well, what I think you have to have a coach willing to manage expectations, right? Mm-hmm. And I think that's the problem. Like I think a coach in football is able to manage expectations because there's several bites. Let's think about it. In football, there's several bites at the apple. Meaning that you got spring ball, a guy can solidify himself and kind of negotiate for a better deal. And then you got the fall, you can, hey, this is what top cornerbacks are going for.
Yeah.
This is you understand, you get to set the mark.
The thing about it is if you're a proven commodity and they know you can play, this is why it's 4 number 1 seeds in NCAA tournament right now. And that's why it's going to be like that forever. Then you ain't going to have no more upsets because everything that played on that level at the mid-majors.
They know it.
Yeah,
oh, yeah.
We're going to get
they
paid.
Coming up. Yeah.
So if you're a proven commodity now, you're going to get paid. And if you're a proven commodity and you're already in a top-tier program, like, say, Notre Dame, Olivia Miles, you already know you're going to get paid.
I was listening to Doug Gottlieb, right?
Yeah.
And he made something a very interesting analysis. He says, I could have told you McNeese was going to be Clemson for one simple reason. McNeese had paid more money in NIL than Clemson had paid.
Yeah. Y'all came from LSU.
Yeah.
LSU
all 5 came from Power 4 schools. They all started 5.
He says it was an upset on paper.
And who was
Will
Wade?
Wade.
What did Will Wade do? What did he get 5 from LSU for?
Paying
money.
Yeah.
So he know how to dish some money out.
Everything is going to be about money now.
That's what I've been saying the last 2 years, Walker. Even in the HBCU landscape that I cover, it's money first, playing time, and then relationships. All that traditional stuff is out the window. Telling me how many championships y'all won.
That don't mean nothing.
And how much that means nothing.
You got a statue of Bud Brown outside your stadium. That don't mean nothing, man.
No.
That don't mean nothing. How much? What kind of money you got?
They want the bag now.
That's why I say I was born in the wrong era.
Yeah.
Because man, it's all about money. It's all about money right now. I got a friend that played with me at Texas Tech, and his son was a top recruit. He went to Texas Tech, and he was telling me about the whole recruiting process of what he went through with his son, and he ended up quitting his job, and he ended up managing his son's money. You know, but we talking about something like we ain't talking about hundreds of things. We talking about a million.
Yeah.
And you know the great thing about this era is, I have on good authority that there are a couple athletes that play at Big 12 schools that they were freshmen that got playing time. Those guys make $500,000. Like they make $500,000. Like I'm talking about guys who were not projected to be starters, not projected to be. Like they end up playing a little bit, you know, but they were $500,000, man. And when you think about it, just think about Walker. If coming out of PSV,
Parkside.
Yeah, I'm standing in the project.
you could go from being 17 to $500,000. Just be honest. Just think about the people you could have helped. Not only just your mom, not only Chubby and your little brother. That's
generational. You know, where you're able to help at that young age, and then you're able to get that type of money. And this is what my friend was saying. Like, he quit his job. His son went to Texas Tech and only caught, and I'm not going to 12 passes.
Yeah.
But at the same time,
can't take that money back.
You can't take that money back.
It's gone. It's deposited. That's over with.
Yeah. I mean,
that's how it is now.
And then that ain't all of it. It's that money, and then they help you find a house. They help you do this. They help you. Then they help your family.
I talked to another prominent athlete about this, and he has a son coming up in this era. And the issue is, and you tell me if I'm correct, Walker, you feel like you guys contributed to building the sport to what it is now. You guys were clearly taken advantage of. And this guy was like, they got me. They're not getting my son.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't care.
That's how I feel. I mean, I don't have a son.
They got me. But they got me. That's the guy's point. He say this guy's all Southwest Conference, all recognized, all American, and his relationship currently with his school is not what he would want it to be. But and people was thinking that his son should automatically, go to the school that he went to. He killed that very early in the game.
Exactly. And that's how it should be. That's how it should be. I mean, now I'm a broker for my son. You understand what I'm saying?
For sure.
And I'm gonna show him the right way, because I don't want him taken advantage of. If I had a little brother, anything that was coming up, I'm gonna be that broker for him, because we're gonna go get paid. We're gonna go get the most money, and that's what my friend was telling me. He was like, man, I went to Texas Tech, and they was thinking that they automatically had him because I went there. He said, but the way they did me, and they think they was gonna get a bargain. And he said, I hit him over the head. And that's what you're supposed to do. He said, I hit him over the head. He say, they was like, well, yeah, you a Red Raider. And this.
Oh, no.
No, he said that had no conversation. When he negotiated, he wasn't a Red Raider. He was there. He was a broker for his son.
That's true.
And that's how you have to look at it.
So why do the coach, we can just have this, a little deviate from this. Why do the coaches like Izzo and all those guys who made millions for their family and their legacy resent that now? Like Izzo openly says, I hate the transfer portal. I think this NIL is a bunch of bull crap.
Because he made his money the way he made his money.
I mean, and then you can listen to Nick Saban. Nick Saban, you'd have made over $70 million.
And them paid out.
But you've been able to control the narrative with your players and everything like that. So now you can't control the narrative, right? You, like you say, you used to be able to go into a guy's home and say, hey, you can show him them rings. You say, man, I got these rings. It ain't show me these rings now. It's show me the money.
Yeah, instantly.
You see what I'm saying? So now you don't have control over these guys like you used to. You can't go and say, well, when Michael Jordan went to North Carolina, so you should come to North Carolina.
Yeah.
And that's
They don't care about that at all. No.
That don't mean anything. You get to wear a pair of Jordans.
Yeah.
I got my own Jordans.
Well, we understand this, right? That even if you're a second generation athlete, if your son can't play, they not gonna recruit him.
No.
You know what I mean?
No,
Exactly.
not at all. They don't care. They don't care about that at
Not for
all.
us. I'm just
exactly.
for us. Like, and what I mean by that is you'll see a lot of second generation scholarship players that don't play.
If you're a manager.
Yeah. If you're a man,
But none all our kids better be able to play.
Or you're not getting nothing. You're gonna be a
I'm gonna
McNeese.
tell you the scope of things nowadays. Okay, so Trey Young just gave Oklahoma $1 million.
Mm-hmm. Became their assistant GM.
But he's the GM.
Mm-hmm.
So that means he's going to help them recruit players and he's going to help them pay players to help their basketball team. This is what we're getting to. Patrick Mahomes, same thing.
Same thing at Tech.
And same thing at Tech.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And that's what we're getting to. So now the guys that went on and made money and this, that, and other, they can come back and put money in their schools. They can be GM. They can be a part of the recruiting process. They can be a part of everything.
Yeah. And that's exactly where it's going. And that's what I think a huge reason why Leah Chavez just went to Oklahoma. The news comes out a couple of days later that Trey Young is the GM and he's going to be donating millions and millions of dollars to Oklahoma every single year. And then all of a sudden, Leah Chavez.
She got a bag.
Yeah, she definitely.
And I heard Tech offered her to stay at home. They offered her parents and a whole family jobs.
We don't want no job.
In a bag.
You can go out in all field.
Yeah.
In a bag.
But
and she chose to go elsewhere.
Yeah.
Like Walker, that's the thing that, and Jalen, that's what I think coaches have a tough time accepting, in my opinion, unfairly, that this is a pay-for-play environment.
Yeah.
You can't go to a kid's house, man, and expect him to, because he like you, because you got some.
To get back to your question, all those coaches going to resent that because they've always had control and they've always had power. Now, the power ain't in your hands. The power's in the person's hands who's spending the money. And
100%.
Even though you making $8 million a year, Izzo, you ain't pulling none of that money out your salary to help pay these kids.
Not even a little bit.
So
I agree.
That's the deal. That's why you're going to have coaches resign and go, especially those old school coaches like Nick Saban.
And it goes to show, in my opinion, as much development as coaches claim that they've done to develop young men and all those programs, whatever, the fact of the matter, the plantation model is what they really feel comfortable with.
100%.
And then
the plantation model.
Right.
The model of empowerment and having to allowing other individuals to determine their own self-determination and make their own decisions. They don't like that model because it takes the power out of their hands. They want the plantation model.
Exactly.
This is the only place you can work. This is get that cotton.
You can't even transfer unless I sign it off.
When they had control and they had control over whether you transfer or to another school, a person like Nick Saban loved that.
Yeah.
But when you pay a guy $4 million to come to Alabama, now that control is out of your hand. Man, what can you tell me? I already got $4 million.
Yeah.
Man, you better shut up talking to me, Nick. I want to call him Coach Saban. You better, what,
and
Nick?
then I'll transfer to Auburn on you if you don't do right.
Have respect, but
no, but I think, but it goes to a point like this. Like I said, it's money, playing time, relationships, and this is why I say relationships are important, right? I can't have a relationship with just a few players on my team now, and that's what I'll be honest with you. That's what coaches and sometimes used to do. They have a relationship with Wayne. So the top players, I just
the
put
top players, the top players,
and that managed, and they would look to manage the entire team. Whereas now they have to have a relationship with all the players because if you don't have a relationship, as soon as that bag,
because it's a different type of relationship. I remember when I was in school, I had a different relationship with the head coach than other guys because I could just, I don't really want to do that. I don't really want to do that because I knew where I was producing.
You knew your work. You knew your work.
So you knew that. So now just think about it when you paying a guy money. That's why like a guy like in Texas. So they have so much money that he still can be the coach because they can pay you $1 million and they can tell you to go on about your business because they can bring in another. They can pay you and just say, hey, go on, take that.
And this is in like Saban's model. Saban's model, I think, was brilliant as a recruiter and as far as talent acquisition. His model was to bring in NFL bodies, develop those guys, and just stack them. You know, understand? He stack them. Well, the problem is that doesn't work anymore.
No.
Because no guy is going to come and sit and eat top ramen and whatever. Because you got to realize, when you don't have any stats, when you're not playing, in the old system, you weren't worth anything.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You were
absolutely right.
Yeah.
You were honestly in a situation where you're trying to prove yourself.
Ain't nobody doing that no more,
and
man.
that's the thing. You getting 5-star and 5-star, and you setting them behind
Sitting them
each
for
other.
3 years.
And now I'm a 5-star, and I done sit on the bench all year.
You ain't worth nothing.
Nah, I'm gone.
But I can go somewhere else, and I can get some paper, and I can play.
Right.
Well,
Stay in the
Well, the
SEC.
fact of the matter is this. If you, because I remember one year, Saban got the top linebacker 3 years in a row.
Mm-hmm.
He can't even afford the top linebacker 3 years in a row.
No.
and just think about the running
You'll be
back
broke
room.
out
Just
on
think about the
linebackers.
running back room he had.
Rooms, multiples.
Thank you, yeah. I think there's 6 guys. And what,
Yeah,
6
Kenyon
guys.
Drake, Derrick Henry,
They're
all
sitting
these
behind
dudes are
each
sitting
other.
up. Brian
Behind each
Robertson
other.
was the first running back taken a couple years ago. He didn't play to his senior year. He
Well,
didn't
I
even
want
touch
to
the
say,
field.
Josh
I want
Jacobs-
to
Josh
say,
Jacobs didn't touch the field to his senior year.
I want to say he
Najee
had.
Davenport.
I want to say he had Jacobs. At one point, Jacobs said he was the 6th string running back.
Exactly.
Alvin Kamara was 5th string. He had to transfer to Tennessee. He had to go JUCO. Alvin Kamara was the 5th string
Exactly.
running back. T.J. Yeldon, Derrick Henry, Mark Ingram, all these dudes is all sitting in front of him. He the 6th string running back.
Exactly.
And he had to go JUCO. That's never happened
So you're
in
not
the game.
able to monopolize
No.
now like he used to do. That's why he had to get out.
That's exactly, and I'm glad that y'all brought, because he did all that crying for the last year about this. It just ain't the way to. First off, every player that don't play for Alabama in the Saban era said we got paid.
So
stop with the now people are getting paid. No, you got to pay, and the other
who
dudes
he
couldn't
was?
pay.
So here's the deal: the coach got to pay who he deemed who he wanted to pay.
Yeah.
Especially once they was on the roster. Like getting them on the roster was the hardest part for coaches. Once you got them on the roster, you have control of them. You kind of can dictate their future.
Yep.
This is the path. You can get guys to change positions. There are all kinds of things you could do as a coach.
You can't
right?
do that now.
No. If you want a guy to go from wide receiver to corner,
Like Diggs.
yeah. How you gonna talk a guy into that when as soon as you tell him he has to move the corner?
Yeah, I'm gonna move schools.
I'm gonna move schools.
I'm gonna make it easy on you.
Yeah, but that's he can't control. He can't monopolize
Nah.
anymore, and that's why Nick Saban got out. But Nick Saban was getting $12 million a year, and he got that. He was a top paid coach for the last 10 years.
Yep.
The time that he was in NCAA football, and then once they started paying, soon after they started, the year after they started paying, guess what he did? He got out because he wasn't gonna win
The
anymore.
Hellcat wasn't gonna get it done no more. Every player in Alabama done got it. They don't all came out and say it the first day I touched the
Because
Hellcat.
you can talk about it all you want to, but the Alabama money can't.
No.
Okay.
It can't compete with Texas. Can't
money.
compete with can't compete with Ohio
LSU
State.
Money.
No.
It can't do it. It can't do it.
No.
So now you talking about you're gonna be one of the
Not-
top 10 programs in the country, but you're not gonna be
Not
that
only
program.
that, is Alabama's at a deficit because I'll say this: even though they play a lot of football in Alabama. When you talk about sheer numbers, right?
Mm-hmm.
When the last big time quarterback that came from Alabama? You know they haven't got a little defense. They
Tua
have,
was the only one in the last two. And
no.
Bryce Young.
I'm talking about the state. I'm talking about that.
Oh,
was
in the
born-
state.
Yeah.
Jameis Winston probably the last one. And
So
he
what
went
I'm
to
saying,
Florida State.
like where you got states like Georgia, Florida, and Texas, where there's blue chip
Louisiana.
quarterbacks coming
All
in.
over there.
Yeah.
You know,
Every
they
year.
they could depend on taking a kid from Texas to go to Alabama, or a kid from Arizona to come to Alabama, or something like that. They're at a disadvantage because of where they sit geographically.
Oh yeah.
In my opinion, and in my opinion, here's what's going to happen. Coaching is always going to be at a premium.
Mm-hmm.
Player development is always going to be a premium, but you got to have that bag. So
You got
get your
to.
hands
You
on
got
the
to.
player.
That's what
You
put
got to.
Texas
changed everything in the blink of an eye.
I'm telling you, he can be the coach because they can pay a guy. They can bring in a blue chip recruit and he can say, well, I don't want to be here. And then they say, well, bye-bye. Because they not going to miss it because there's so much money. There's so much of that oil money and some of that old money. That old money.
Well, they can set up. They can the school I'm talking about. They can pay a guy sitting the bench or starting $500,000. Well, you can't go to Baylor and get that. Even if you're a starter.
No.
If you're all American, you can't get $500,000.
And you had Baylor had shirts on saying we pay.
I'm waiting to see it. I'm still waiting to see the pay.
They pay, but they ain't paying what
That's what I'm
Texas
saying. I'm trying to see the pay what the other people is paying, because so we can get a little more.
I'm telling you, a very close school that's not Baylor in close proximity is paying reserve players $500,000.
Oh, I know who you're talking about.
$500,000.
I said on this show 3-4 months ago, Wayne, and said the worst thing that could happen to Baylor was SMU getting good. And you ain't touching SMU money. Not even saying that's what you're talking about. I'm just saying they're right down the street now. If you competing in this area,
the top paying schools in Texas. Let me put them to you: University of Texas,
for sure.
Yes.
A&M.
Texas A&M.
Yes.
SMU.
Yep.
Yes.
And Texas Tech.
Yeah.
Yes.
100%.
Right now.
100%.
That's them.
Yeah.
So if you're a recruit and you want to get paid, that's where Oklahoma's gonna be in there because they're in close proximity. LSU gonna be in there because
now Oklahoma, to me, Oklahoma is gonna fall in that Texas, in that Alabama area, because one, they don't have enough football players in their footprint, right? They have to overlap everybody's footprint.
Everybody
to get players. They just got to be willing to pay more.
Yeah.
But
you got to spend the bag.
But
Oklahoma.
I'm looking at it like this with Oklahoma. It's just right across the border. So when you can go to Dallas and it's 2 hours away from Oklahoma.
I get that, but they're closer to being TCU than they are Texas.
Yeah.
You understand?
Especially going to the SEC.
You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah. Especially going to the SEC. That made it worse.
I don't think the SEC, in my opinion, I think the SEC doesn't help them or hurt them in this regard, right? Going to the biggest football conference in the country helps you, right? Helps you. But what hurts you is this. Before NIL, I could offer a running back in South Dallas an opportunity to play at Oklahoma or SMU. He was going to choose Oklahoma.
Every time.
Every time.
Every time. Those days are gone.
They gone.
Yeah. They're gone.
Because of the prestige, they get Adrian Peterson to give you a phone call. You know, he follow you on Twitter.
Yeah.
You know?
But now, if Ohio State and Oregon and all those schools like that, Texas, you know, them cats right there coming. They coming with the president
money.
Of the bank.
Yeah.
They coming with the president of the bank.
Yeah.
You know, so them the guys you listen to. SMU, they coming with a senator from Texas. They coming with a man that's the bank that own the bank, and that's got an oil well somewhere out there in West Texas.
And people always say to me, you know, because I had these debates all the time. They talking about, oh, there's gonna be some legislation that's gonna level the playing field. I say, hold up. You think Texas or Texas A&M have any interest in leveling the playing field?
Yeah.
Alabama, Georgia.
No, well,
Florida.
Alabama want them to level.
Well, Alabama,
but I'm just saying Texas.
Florida, Texas.
Oregon don't want them to level. You know what I'm saying?
Nah.
They don't want them to level no playing field.
They're not
before
going to.
they level it, it's gonna be some football program had to shut down. Level it.
And when was it level? Would have been my question.
And you think that's the University of Texas. Every senator, every congressman in Texas is got some type of big time. Got some type of
connection
with them.
Yeah. Always. So yeah,
you know, so that's what we
same thing with A&M too. Same thing with
A&M too. A&M too. Yeah.
Yeah, A&M is right in there with those.
I see this, and this is the last thing I'll say because I got to get out of here. But
yeah.
Last thing I'll say, I think schools like Baylor have to decide what sports they want to dominate in, right?
Yeah.
and they have to invest in that. And when I say football, I would like them to invest and try to dominate or be competitive in football, but they have to go up against those two schools that are 90 miles away.
Right in the middle of them.
Right in the middle.
I don't think they have but I think they can be very competitive in basketball. I think they can be very competitive in women's basketball.
Yes.
You know what I mean? But they have to pick and choose. And for them, does it make sense to do what Georgia just announced their NIL splits, or I think Georgia was the school. Their NIL splits are going to be 75% is going to go to football, 15% is going to go to basketball, and then 5% is going to go to women's basketball, and then the other 15% is going to other 5% is going to all other sports. All other sports.
But that's about true, because you think about what the football revenue brings in, and we ain't talking about 100,000 that they split.
No,
we ain't talking about it. We're talking about some billion.
No.
You know,
That's how they're gonna do their revenue split. They're gonna give 75% of their revenue to the football team.
Yeah.
I mean, it makes sense.
And I want to say 15 to the men's basketball team, and then 5 and 5.
Yes,
5 to the women's basketball, and then 5 to everything else.
You got to go with the money maker. Football was making all the money.
At Texas last year, even if you didn't sign an NIL deal, everybody on the football team got $45,000.
That's fair.
Yeah.
But that's fair. I mean, you could be kicking, you could be setting that bench and setting that pine, you still gonna get 40. But then you had your elite guys that were still getting paid. You understand what I'm saying? But anybody, and that's every athlete. That's women.
Now
you women. That's track.
And the way these guys
everything.
are getting paid at this one school, they're not necessarily getting paid through the school. They're getting paid through these, not even collectives, these NIL agencies.
Exactly.
NIL agencies.
You know, boys at the University of Texas driving Lamborghinis.
Yeah, Quinn Ewers. As soon as he got on campus, he had a Lambo and his own parking spot at the stadium. As a matter of fact, so yeah, they doing it big. Like NIL. This is the new wave. This is the new wave, and this is not how it's gonna go now. So that's the NIL. That's how it's gonna go. But we gotta get into a break. We gotta let Rocky get out of here. Appreciate it coming up here and talking with us. Me and Wayne will stay here for the second part of the show here, folks. We gotta take a break. When we come back, still plenty to talk about in March Madness. Still plenty to talk about with the NBA and a little bit of NFL news coming out as well. We got to take a break here on Centex Primetime. We'll be right back after this short break.
I'm so happy to be here. It's crazy how I got here.
My name is Emily Adams. I'm the marketing director for the Texas Asphalt Pavement Association. We are here at our 3rd annual MAPS conference at the Waco Convention Center in beautiful Waco, Texas. I think the event has exceeded all of our expectations. We had an amazing turnout and great sessions and nothing but positive feedback. So this is our first conference in a convention center, and I'm used to working with hotels where there's like one person to talk to for everything. And so at the last minute, we realized we needed audio and video services. And so I contacted Lighthouse Streaming and Audio, and they were very quick to respond. They were able to, even though it was the last minute, they were able to fit us into their schedule, and they provided us with technicians and equipment to record our sessions, and we'll be able to provide the people who are speaking at those sessions with great video of themselves. I would highly recommend them. I highly recommend Lighthouse Streaming and Audio. I had nothing but a pleasant experience, and if we come back to Waco again, which we hope to do, I know I'll be in touch with them.
Hello, my name is Roy Gillis, CEO of Lighthouse Streaming, and you're watching Centex Sports Network.
My name is Debbie Kimbrell. I am the administrative assistant here at Anderson Chapel. I also work as part of the media ministry. It was great working with Lighthouse. Everyone was very professional, came in to do video recording and streaming for a conference that we hosted here on time. They did what they needed to do, was seamless and transparent. It was great. And feedback, everyone was impressed. So it went out. It was a conference level, so a state level event. And everyone was impressed with the product and the result. We got the DVDs too, which people purchased, and they were impressed with those. It was great overall.
Hello, my name is Roy Gillis, founder and CEO of Lighthouse Streaming. Over the last 4 years, we've had some tremendous successes, none of which could have been accomplished without you, our clients, and our viewers. From my family and the staff of Lighthouse Streaming, thank you.
My name is Tashay Sayes. I'm a music major at MCC, and I'm so happy to be here. It's crazy how I got here.
My name is Emily Adams. I'm the marketing director for the Texas Asphalt Pavement Association. We are here at our 3rd annual MAPS conference at the Waco Convention Center in beautiful Waco, Texas. I think the event has exceeded all of our expectations. We had an amazing turnout and great sessions and nothing but positive feedback. So this is our first conference in a convention center, and I'm used to working with hotels where there's like one person to talk to for everything. And so at the last minute, we realized we needed audio and video services. And so I contacted Lighthouse Streaming and Audio, and they were very quick to respond. They were able to, even though it was the last minute, they were able to fit us into their schedule, and they provided us with technicians and equipment to record our sessions, and we'll be able to provide the people who are speaking at those sessions with great video of themselves. I would highly recommend them. I highly recommend Lighthouse Streaming and Audio. I had nothing but a pleasant experience, and if we come back to Waco again, which we hope to do, I know I'll be in touch with them.
Hello, my name is Roy Gillis, CEO of Lighthouse Streaming.
Hey, what's going on? Welcome back into Centex Primetime. I am your host, Jalen Gillis, here in hour number 2 of the show on this Tuesday afternoon. Want to thank everybody for tuning in with us here today on Centex Primetime. If you haven't already, go over to YouTube, hit that subscribe button. Also, click the bell so you can get notified when we go live here, 5 to 7 p.m. weekdays right here on Centex Primetime. Still joined in studio by Wayne Walker. Rocky had to leave out of here as we just got done wrapping up talking about some NIL, as Olivia Miles has decided to come back to college so she can come and get that bag at whatever school she decides to go to. She jumped into the transfer portal. I'm expecting to see a team like USC be in play. I'm expecting to see a team like Duke, who just played a really tough game in the Elite Eight that they lost against South Carolina. They could use a star guard like Olivia Miles. So there's a lot of schools she could go to, and I'm sure Dame will probably come knocking with another offer in the bag. Maybe they can drop off for Olivia Miles to stay at Notre Dame as well. Just got done wrapping that up. We talked about the Final Four on the men's side of the bracket. We'll talk a little bit about the women's side of the bracket as well, and we'll also talk some quick takes here on Centex Primetime. We got some time left here on the show. First, I want to jump into a couple of these quick takes. Wayne, like I say, I try to talk some baseball whenever you're on here because you have already said, a self-proclaimed baseball fan still. We have baseball season started up. It started last week. My Astros are doing okay right now, so I'm still tuned in. If we lose by 5 or 10 in a row, baseball guy might not see me no more. I'm just letting y'all know because I'm only watching right now for the Astros. But the Yankees started off their season extremely hot after losing in the World Series last year to the world champion Dodgers. They started off the season hot, 15 home runs in their first 3 games of the season. Unprecedented number of home runs in just the first 3 games. And obviously we know the Yankees have big bats. This is what they've done for the last 2 or 3 years since they've had Aaron Judge, and they've added in a couple of players these last few years.
Torpedo bats or just bats?
And that's the thing. That player from the Brewers has come out and said, hey, they're using these new torpedo bats that a professor from MIT came up with, these new torpedo bats. They're using those, and they hitting everything out the park. They haven't seen a pitch that they ain't liked yet. They've hit everything out of the park since introducing these new torpedo bats. And one of the pitchers from the Brewers came out and said, hey, man, I don't know if this is some Bush League stuff or not, or maybe they just good. But he said whichever way it is, They ain't gonna take him away because of the Yankees and they get him everything. So I'm like, okay, I get that to a certain extent that you'll say that. But for one, a professor came up with these bats. It ain't like, they put some, it ain't like they put extra juice in the bats or did something to it.
They still wood.
They still wood bats. All he did was redistribute the weight within the bat to make it get a better, just like they do with every other bat.
On the sweet spot.
Yeah,
on the sweet spot of each and every individual player.
Yeah, and it's like they do it with every bat. They do it some type of way. It's modeled to have a sweet spot within the bat. This one just happens to be working right now for the Yankees player. What do you think about these new torpedo bats, I guess, Wayne, and then also just the Yankees and their start since losing in their World Series last year?
Well, that's what the New York Yankees has always been about, having the biggest bats in the league.
Yeah.
The best sluggers, the home run hitters, and when you got a guy like Aaron Judge, 6'8",
man,
260 pounds, man, what do you expect, man? He's swinging that bat like a toothpick, But the thing that's supposedly working for him is the torpedo bat. But I just think they're off to a great start.
Yeah.
They got some bad feelings about last year and what happened to them in the World Series. To go out and get dominated by Los Angeles, and Los Angeles in the NL is having a great year as well.
Yes.
They're undefeated.
Yeah.
So I can see these two teams on the collision court, but pitching is always going to be the dominant thing. If you have pitching, I don't care what kind of bats you have. Pitching is always is going to control batting. So with that being said, it's not the bat. It's just the fact that they came out on a mission this year and they got off to a great start, and everything is working out for them. But I project everything will cool off.
Yeah. Eventually it'll end up cooling off, and I think the dude, one of the guys from the Red, De La Cruz from the Reds, he's hit 7 RBIs with the new torpedo bat and all that, and it's just something that there is to talk about right now.
Right,
but that'll wear off.
And that's the biggest news around the MLB right now.
Yeah, is the torpedo bat.
The torpedo bat.
Yeah, that's what everybody wants to talk about, and I'm like you, that I think that pitching is always going to be what determines these games in the long run. And the Dodgers are off to another great start. The Yankees are off to a great start. Biggest question for the Dodgers, who are the world champs, are do they let Shohei Ohtani get back in the bullpen, or do you keep him as a DH coming off a historic season that he just came off of?
Well, right now they don't need him. I mean, their pitching has been outstanding without him.
Mm-hmm.
If you're gonna if you're gonna pitch him, I will maybe start him off as in the bullpen or somewhere like that where he can get 1 or 2 because he is a dominant pitcher once he does pitch. But him coming off of Tommy John surgery, and I wouldn't even chance it because he's more valuable as a hitter right now than he is as a pitcher because you already have pitching.
Yeah, I agree. I think as a hitter, we just saw what he was able to do. It was an historic season for Shohei Ohtani, and they were able to win the World Series.
And he's off to a hot start again this year.
Once again.
Leading the league in home runs.
Yeah, leading the league in home runs. They still got Mookie Betts in there. I mean, it's the lineups that the Yankees and the Dodgers are putting out every night are actually ridiculous.
And I actually get the Dodgers the lead because they do have that pitching and they have that slugging. The Yankees right now have been slugging their way through games and winning games. And they hadn't really relied on the pitching.
The ace is out for the year.
Yeah, they hadn't relied on the pitching as much. So, man, it's the beginning of baseball season, and the two most storied franchises in baseball are winning, and that makes MLB happy.
Yeah. So I'm tuned in right now, y'all, with the baseball. I don't want to keep hearing about these torpedo bats, man. Y'all should be. This is what we wanted. This is what the people want to see. We want to see the home runs, and we want to see these hitters going against great pitching as well. So if you don't like it, then you got to throw the strikes, man. You can't let them get on the bat like it's a longer bat or a bigger bat. It's the same size. It's just a little bit different. So
same weight, same everything. It's just that he put a little bit more wood in that particular batter's sweet spot, and it's kind of been working, but. At the end of the day, dominant pitching is always going to be the thing that shuts down hitting.
Yeah, every time. The dominant pitcher is always going to be what always elevates to the top. And so that's what's going on in the MLB. In the NBA news, obviously we've all at this point have seen the dust up, the scuffle, whichever one you want to call it, between the Pistons and the Timberwolves, and their punishment has already come out now from that fight. Now, I thought after seeing the fight and seeing, I don't even really want, nobody even really threw a punch, so I don't really want to call it a fight. It's more of a scuffle. And seeing the scuffle, I thought, the NBA was going to overreact as they've done in the past, at least since Adam Silver has been the commissioner. I feel like a lot of the times they overreact and they suspend guys for, they've suspended guys for 10 games up to sometimes for fighting or for scuffles or for getting ejected from a game. They suspended Draymond for like 7 or 8 games. So I was thinking we're going to see something like that. But the most that anybody got in this whole fight was 2 games, and that was Isaiah Stewart. Obviously, he tried to fight everybody Isaiah Stewart tries to do every game. He tries to fight everybody, but he tried to fight the team, and the most he got was 2 games. Everybody else, their punishment was only 1 game. So I was actually surprised and actually happily surprised by the news of the suspension coming out. One, because we're not going to get to see these guys. I was afraid that we were going to see guys missing playoff time because there's only about 6 or 7 games left until the playoffs start. I was hoping, because both those teams are playoff teams, we weren't going to see anybody missing any playoff time. So what do you think about, first off, the scuffle and then the punishment that Adam Silver handed out?
Like you said, Jalen, no one really threw a punch.
Mm-hmm.
It was basically a pushing match.
Mm-hmm.
The tush pushing
was
more physical than that. In that fight. So I think the punishment fit the crime. You understand what I'm saying? And so Isaiah Stewart, he's at that for Detroit. He's their guy.
Mm-hmm.
He's the guy that sets the tone. He's the fight man for them. So, but nobody threw a punch. I thought the punishment fit the crime. So we move on from that. It's just a couple of $1,000 come out of each guy's pocket, and that's what it's gonna be. So.
And that was one of the main reasons why I was happy about it, because these dudes are gonna miss millions of dollars from their checks being gone. When you miss 6, 7, 8 games, depending on what your contract is, you missing millions of dollars out of your check by missing that many games. Plus the fine that the league is going to hand down on top of it too.
And both of these teams are in the playoff race,
mm-hmm.
and you don't, at this time of year, you don't want to take that away from these guys.
No.
When you're a repeat offender, like you're a Draymond or something like that, what he did with the technical fouls and hitting people in the face and the things that he did, now you deserve that 7-8 game punishment. But when it's something like that and you're just pushing and shoving or whatever, nobody threw a punch. I mean, that punishment fit the crime. So I'm happy with it. I'm
happy those guys get to keep the money. We get to keep seeing these guys, and we could potentially see a Pacers versus Pistons first round playoff matchup, which those guys had a little dust up about a month ago. So we'll get to see some more, and seeing that type of punishment could honestly bring back some much needed physicality into the league, because before guys are too scared. Man, I'm too scared to do anything because I can't afford to miss 10 games. Like some of these guys,
I can't take that $200,000.
No,
I can't do it.
I ain't that mad. I'm mad, but I ain't that mad.
Yeah.
But seeing something like this, okay, maybe guys will be a little more lenient. I don't want anybody to throw a punch and to be ejected like that. But okay, we can do a little more pushing and shoving, tussling, moving around in there. So I think it's all good for the league, man. Nobody got hurt. Not like anything. None of the fans were hurt or nothing like that. It kind of spilled over into the fans a little bit, but none of the fans really got involved like that. So that was all good, man. And I'm glad to see the amount of punishment that these guys let down. You just spoke about the tush push, so I want to talk about that a little bit. In the NFL side of things, they've been, I guess, voting and deliberating between some league officials within the NFL and some teams to vote on whether or not to veto the tush push. As of right now, the vote has been tabled, is the words that they're using, and they're going to come back at a later date, and they're going to need, they said they need some more discussion on this topic. And for me, I'm glad that they're getting some more discussion on this topic, because what are we talking about of banning? So somebody gets so good at the play that nobody else can stop, and now we're going to ban it? Because just because it's a different name doesn't mean that it's not just a QB sneak. That's all it is.
Because you can't stop it.
Yeah, you can't stop it, and now we're going to ban it. QB sneak has been in the game since the game started.
Right.
And now it's dangerous, and we're going to ban it.
And the deal is, you can't stop it,
mm-hmm.
but it's not causing any injuries. If it's causing injuries, You know, people on the bottom of the pile getting their legs broke or arms broke or something like that. Then we stop it, but we don't have enough. We don't have enough to know that right now. We don't. You know, the jury's still out on that. Yeah,
For
but
sure.
you have to show me really you have to bring out and show me what has it done. Like you said, it's just a play that people can't stop. Philadelphia was innovative with what they came up with as a play to move the sticks, and it's been successful for them and Buffalo. But Philadelphia ultimately came up with this play, and it's been successful, and people can't stop it. So rather than finding a way to stop it, we want to ban it.
Yeah,
you know?
I think that's weak.
And so
to do
and
that.
so now, you know, you come up with I think they say 24 votes to ban it, but they tabled it into the next and what it is they're gonna table it and get more information about if it causes injuries or what kind of effect that it has, and then they'll discuss it at the next owners meeting. I think in May or something like that. So but I just think it's stupid to ban it because someone came up with a play that worked for them, innovative, and then what they're talking about is you pushing the quarterback, but it's been successful and you can't stop it, and I think it's weak for other teams that try to ban it.
Yeah, I don't get it. Like you said, this team just came up and they're better than at other teams are doing it because it ain't like other teams didn't try it. We watched other teams didn't try it.
Yeah.
But your quarterback doesn't squat 400 pounds. Same with Josh Allen.
600.
600. That's crazy. Your quarterback, like the Bills, your quarterback ain't 6'6", 250, 260.
Right,
That's why it's not working for the other teams. It's not like they're doing something where they're cheating or something. No, they got two of the strongest, if not the two strongest quarterbacks in the NFL. That's why it's working. So, I mean, to try to ban it, I mean, come on, man.
Along
Let's
with
find
a
a
good
way.
offensive line.
Yeah,
so,
both of those teams got good offensive lines. That's why it works. It's not like it's some type of special magic or special cheat play they're doing within it.
But we got to get more evidence on it. We got to get more data on what's really happening and if it's hurting players or not. And if it's not hurting players, I don't think it should be disallowed and for them not to be able to use it.
Yeah, I think so. Hopefully in May when they go back to the next owners meeting, they'll be able to figure that one out. But right now they're still voting, and it's been tabled until May to figure out will they decide to ban the tush push or not. Staying with the NFL for a little bit, Aaron Rodgers reportedly has been having private throwing sessions with DK Metcalf, who is now newly a Pittsburgh Steeler. And Wayne, it's the same questions every single offseason. Why does it so much drama, and why does it take so long for us to figure out if Aaron Rodgers is either gonna play or if what team he's gonna play for? Like, I thought this deal would have been done at this point between Rodgers is clearly interested in the Steelers. The Steelers are clearly interested in Rodgers. Why hasn't this deal happened yet?
Well, he has the luxury of sitting back and deciding. One thing about it is they want him.
Mm-hmm. For sure.
So, I mean, he's always been controversial in whatever he's done or whatever move he's made, even when he was with Green Bay.
Yeah.
So, Aaron is just sitting back, taking his time, and he's getting all his ducks in a row, working it out with their players. So like you say, he wants to be there. He's got a feel for it, trying to get a feel for the players and getting his arm in shape, getting himself in shape. But Aaron Rodgers is just Aaron Rodgers. And he's going to do things his way and on his time.
Yeah.
And I think that's what he's doing is more of that than anything. With Pittsburgh, I think you kind of got to have more urgency and say, hey, what are you going to do?
Yeah.
We want you. We want you. Can we have a decision? You can't wait till after the draft, which he's trying. I think he's trying to wait till after the draft and to make a decision and to go on from there, because at the same time, you don't want to put yourself in the same position that Kirk Cousins put himself in either. That was that kind of set a bad tone, a precedent within with football players too that's in free agency.
Yeah.
You know, you sign me for this amount and then you go out and draft a quarterback in the first round. Now I have to look over my shoulders the rest of the time. So you don't want to be a guy that's sitting there setting the tone and have an understudy behind you that's sitting there ready to take your job.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Like with the Jordan Love situation. Now, I don't think he wants that to happen again, even though obviously at that point Aaron Rodgers knew his job was secure at that point, but he don't want to have to go through that again of I got to mentor the guy that's going to take my job and all that.
With Brett Favre and him.
Yep, exact same thing.
The same thing with Alex Smith and
Colin
Patrick
Kaepernick.
Mahomes.
Oh yeah, Patrick Mahomes.
And Alex Smith and Kaepernick.
Yeah.
Same deal.
Yeah, same situation. So he don't want to put himself in the wrong scenario. So I get it. I get the point of waiting on after the draft, but
and he's got enough money, and he's got
plenty of money.
He's a Hall of Famer,
first ballot Hall of Famer.
So I mean, he has nothing to lose.
No.
The only people that has something to lose is Pittsburgh.
It's Pittsburgh, and that's what that's what makes it so interesting to see on that part, because this is I feel like a turning point in the Steelers organization, because we've praised Mike Tomlin all this time for never having a losing season, but eventually, hey, we the Pittsburgh Steelers, we want more than not having a losing season, and we haven't won a championship since 2009, so they want to be able to get back in that, and they haven't won a playoff game since 2016. So Aaron Rodgers going to Pittsburgh could be pivotal for them. So we'll keep our eyes on that one, obviously. But as of right now, he's working out with some of the players. They want him to come there. He wants to go there. So I guess they're just waiting to see when can this happen. Wayne, before I let you get out of here, I got to talk about this women's side of the bracket, man, in the March Madness. The Final Four is set. UCLA versus UConn, South Carolina versus Texas. Before we go into our picks on who we like, 5 straight Final Fours. Dawn Staley has a chance to win another championship, a chance to go back-to-back, and a chance to be one of the only coaches in NCAA history, men or women's, to have multiple championships, to have three or more championships. What could a win for South Carolina mean for Dawn Staley's career and her legacy as a coach?
Man, her legacy has already been set.
Yeah.
You know, what she's done has been short of amazing. You take her, you take Ariama from
Coach Gino.
Yeah, you take Hat Summit is one of those coaches. You take Kim Mulkey, but she's right up there. She's in that Mount Rushmore of college women basketball coaches. And the most impressive thing about it is she's a black woman at that.
For sure.
You know, played the game at a high level. And then she has an Olympic gold medal. And then to go on, her and Kim Mulkey, I think, are those the only two that's done that.
Mm-hmm.
And for her to be in that company, and for both of them to be in there, that's very outstanding. But her legacy is already set.
Yeah.
You know, if she's to lose, her legacy is set. It's still what it is. And if she is to win, it's still what it is.
Yeah.
One of the best coaches that has ever come along. So she don't have to do anything but just continue to win and to shape the direction of young women's lives that have come and played for her and have gone on to be successful.
Yeah.
Which she's done.
So,
yeah,
definitely.
She's just great. So I don't think there's anything she can do to add to her legacy, because her legacy has already been set as one of the finest and one of the top coaches in women's college basketball.
Yep. Coach Staley, 5 straight Final Four appearances. She's already got 3 national championships, has a chance to get 4. Looking at these Final Four teams set, I mean, without Juju being in there, I feel like South Carolina is the real powerhouse that's left within this. Now, all 4 of these teams have a chance to win. Texas, Madison Booker is a phenomenal player for UT. UConn, obviously, they got the best player I feel left in this tournament in Paige Beckers. And then UCLA has probably the second best player I feel like left in this tournament with Lauren Betts. In this first matchup with UCLA versus UConn, how do you see this one going? Because I think this is going to be a very interesting matchup with a contrast of styles. UCLA is throw it to the post traditional way, and we're going to play from the inside out. UConn is kind of the other way, even though they do have a Sarah Strong, who's a phenomenal player as well. Everything runs through Paige Beckers. with UConn and moving forward. How do you see this UCLA and UConn on matching up with each other?
The thing for me in this matchup is that UConn has 2 stars.
Yes.
Okay. Because if Strong played the way she played the last few games, and Beckers plays the way she plays, they're going to be unbeatable.
Yeah.
Because then you getting 20 and 30 you're getting 50 players out of 2, 50 points out of 2
out of
players.
just 2 players, yeah.
And all the reserves have to do, and all of the rest of the team have to do is just play their role and garbage time and get the garbage buckets.
Yeah.
Which you'll end up getting about 30 of that. So you're talking about that's about 80 points. I just don't think they can be beat if both of those players are playing great. With UCLA, the thing is you can double team Betts and she'll kick it out and these guys shoot the ball and they've been shooting at a high percentage. So a lot of that is going to play a part in this game. If she's double teamed and she kick it out, those guys that she's kicking out to, she makes the right pass. She's the second leading assister on her team. If those guys are knocking down shots once they pass it back out to her, and she can get at least 15 to 20 points, and I think they can win too. But I'm taking UConn in this game. I just think that the combination, their roster, they have more role players that their role players play better than UCLA role players.
Yeah. I'm the same way. I'm taking UConn in this one, and it's really just because of Paige Beckers. I feel like they have the better player out of Lauren Betts. Paige Beckers, I feel like is the better player. Then they got the better coach with Coach Gino as well.
He's been there.
He's been there as many times as anybody could be there. And I'm even taking it a step further. I like UConn to win this whole thing, honestly. I feel like South Carolina is the powerhouse, but UConn, Paige Beckers is going to be the only great from UConn that won't have a championship if she doesn't go forward and win this. And I feel like it's just that time for her. This is her last year at UConn. She just moved to 3rd all-time in scoring at UConn with missing a full season and a half of playing. She still moved up to 3rd in all-time scoring at UConn. Phenomenal. I like UConn in this UCLA game. On the South Carolina side of this, between them and Texas, this is a South Carolina team who I feel like doesn't have. They don't have the
superstar.
They don't have the superstar. I was trying to think of the young lady's name that on Caitlin Clark's team. Like when they had her on there,
Mendoza.
Aaliyah, I can't remember her last name, but when they had her playing down low, they had the dominant player. When they had Asia Wilson, they had the dominant player.
Had Mendoza.
Yeah, when they had Mendoza, they had the dominant player. This year, I feel like their best player is actually a freshman that comes off the bench in Joyce Edwards because she's so young, but her projection is just like all the rest of these people as well. All the rest of these greats that come from South Carolina. But with that being said, I feel like they'll have enough to be able to beat this Texas team. But the way that Paige is playing, you just alluded to it in this UCLA game, and I feel like the same way if they're able to play South Carolina. You get 30 from Paige Beckers and you getting 20 from Sarah Strong. I don't see how anybody can beat this UConn team. Mix that with the way that Coach G has been able to coach these girls.
The thing for me is with South Carolina, they're going to play defense.
Yes.
They're going to play. They don't have a lot of scoring this year. They don't have a dominant scorer. They don't have a dominant superstar that you can go at, but they have 5.
Yes.
So they've been playing as 5. And the fact that Texas beat them and they beat Texas, but they beat Texas in the last meeting in the Southwest. I mean, in the SEC tournament. And they shut down Booker.
Yeah, they did.
And I think that's the only thing that Texas really has that's legitimate. If you can stop her and you can cut her down to under 15 points, you always have a good chance of beating Texas.
Yeah.
Because she's their most dominant player. So you have to control her. You have to defense her. And if they can defense her, which South Carolina has always been able to play defense.
Always.
And I think they'll do that, and I think they'll beat Texas.
Yeah, I see South Carolina coming out with a win in that one. Just too much of – they have too many good players. They don't have the dominant superstar.
They have 5.
But they got – they got Pow, Malaysia Fuwali, Joyce Up. When you mix all these together, Raven is still out there. It's crazy to see all the amount of talent.
And that's what you need to do. So they're a complete team as far as playing together.
Yeah.
with Texas, if you take Booker out, you sure to lose.
Yeah, exactly.
With South Carolina, you can take one of them out and you can plug and play because they play as 5.
You can't stop all 5 of them.
Exactly, because they all do a little bit of something.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I picked South Carolina, and I think they. You got 2 great coaches. You got 2 great coaches. Both have won national championships.
Multiple.
But Don, I mean, I'm rooting for.
Always.
I'm actually rooting for and I'm a, Texas. When you talk about Texas, and then you talk about your home state and playing against Don Staley, I'm still going for
always
South Carolina. So
if it's not Kilmoki coaching, I'm rooting for Coach Don Staley every time, and that's what I'm always going for. So I think that's going to be the championship game between, like you said, 2 national championship coaches. So that's it going to be a great matchup. But this weekend, South Carolina versus Texas. We're going to get UCLA versus UConn as well in the Final Four. Both men's and women's Final Fours are set. Wayne, I know you got to get out of here, so let you go. I appreciate you jumping on the show with us, and we'll be able to catch up some more.
I'll be back. I'll be back some maybe next week. So
yes, sir.
We'll talk about it again, man. And then we'll have a new national championships on both ends, so we can talk about our predictions and what we predicted. And see who's right, and we can think about them brackets.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Appreciate it.
Later, Central Texas.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So that is Wayne Walker as he jumps off the set, folks. Only a few minutes here left in the show. I want to look over at some of these NBA topics while we got a little bit of time left. We already talked about the suspensions getting handed down from the league, and both the Pistons and Timberwolves are going to pretty much come out unscathed. So I'm happy about that one. Last night, the Lakers played against my Houston Rockets, and we played a good game. Let me be a homer for a little bit. We played a good game in that game, but at the end of it, it was just too much, and the Lakers just got too much from their role players. When the Lakers play like this, and you can get a 20-piece from Dorian Finney-Smith hitting 6 threes, you can get a Gabe Vincent stepping up. I'm telling y'all now, this Lakers team is going to be tough to beat, man. I know OKC's got a chance to win 70 games. And that's crazy to even be able to say that. And they're having an historic season, their best season in franchise history. SGA, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, should be the MVP. I know Jokic is having a great season, but it's got to be SGA at some point. I feel like it should have been SGA last year. They cheated him out of that one. And then this year, he's got to be able to get it this year, especially if they got a chance to go for 70 wins, man. But I know everybody's on OKC. The Lakers are the team to beat in the West. If they are healthy, the Lakers are healthy. If LeBron is healthy, who has had a 6-game stretch scoring under 25 points for the first time in a decade. First time since he first came back to Cleveland in 2015 that he's done that. But with that being said, it's LeBron. It's Luka. And now they got, as Rocky would say, he was just on here, the Kobe of the Ozarks. And Austin Reeves, who is playing phenomenal basketball. My Houston Rockets are definitely going to be a force to be reckoned with. We talked about them yesterday here on the show. They're going to be a force to be reckoned with as we get closer and closer to these playoffs. But, man, this Laker team is scary. On the Rocket side of things, we had just before last night, we won 12 out of the last 13 games. Now we won 12 out of the last 14 games. If it's not a Denver Nuggets, it's not a Lakers, and I'll just throw OKC in there, but I'm honestly not as scared of OKC as most people would think because they're young too. If I'm the Rockets, I want to play another young team. Let's both get out there and be young, and let's see who comes out on top of that. Because what the Rockets are going to bring to the table is defense. They're going to bring defense to the table. So that's going to translate wherever you're playing, whoever you're playing. So the Rockets, I feel like, are one of those teams that are poised to be able to make a run depending on how these matchups go. Now, the matchups are fluctuating every day from week to week. These matchups are fluctuating on who is going to be playing who, who's going to be playing who, and how these standings are going to be shaken out. But as of right now, Rockets sitting in second place, a game and a half or half a game in front of the Denver Nuggets, a couple of games in front of the Los Angeles Lakers, even though they just won. As of right now, we'd be looking at a 7-seed matchup with the Minnesota Timberwolves. I'm cool with that. I'll take that. Anthony Edwards, phenomenal, of course. Who else? I'm not scared of Nas Reed. I'm not scared of Mike Conley. I don't even want to bring up Rudy Gobert, possibly the worst offensive player in the history of the NBA. I'll take that matchup. So that's what I'm saying. This Rockets team, even though they're young, you match up with the right guys, it can get scary. It can get scary. Timberwolves are one of those teams. A team I don't want the Rockets to play is the LA Clippers. The Clippers are one of those teams, man. They're veteran-led. They've got one of the best coaches in the NBA in Ty Lue. They're sitting at the 8th seed right now, but they're tied with the Timberwolves as far as record. So I don't want to play the Clippers if I'm the Rockets. James Harden has been playing phenomenal. Kawhi Leonard over these last few weeks, now that he's starting to get his legs back under him, he's been playing great basketball. This might be the model for Kawhi Leonard. I said this before a couple of months ago on the show. This might be the model for Kawhi Leonard. Hey, let's just sit you for the first 2 quarters of the season. We'll warm you up in the third quarter of the season, and in the fourth quarter, we'll bring you out full-fledged, and we'll get ready for the playoffs. Because no matter what, he keeps getting hurt every single year. It seems like no matter what they do or what they try, he ends up getting hurt. So, hey, we don't even come back until January. And then after that, we'll start ramping you up slowly. By the time we get to February, March, April, you're in full-fledged, ready-to-play mode. So the Clippers are going to be a dangerous team that, for a lot of teams, don't want to match up with them, including who they will be playing in that first round, and that's OKC Thunder. OKC, best defensive team in the league. They've got the MVP. They've got depth on their team. But you don't want to, in the first round, when you're trying to make your run, have to play James Harden, have to play Kawhi Leonard. Zubac is having a career year, somebody that can cancel out some of that size that OKC has with Hartenstein and Chet Holmgren. They don't, man, come on. You don't want to have to play that the first time. Norman Powell, who should have been an all-star, averaging 25 before the all-star break. You don't want to play them. Clippers are one of those scary teams, man. The Western Conference is loaded. The Western Conference is going to be Showtime basketball every game and throughout the playoffs. I can't wait to be able to watch some of these games, man. But for my Houston Rockets, man, that only Texas team I can talk about. So I'm going to talk about the Rockets. Can't talk about the Mavs. They're in the 9th seed, but they need to be tanking and try to go get Cooper Flagg or Ace Bailey or Dylan Harper, who just declared for the draft. They need to be trying to go get one of them dudes because Kyrie ain't going to come back till February of next year anyway. And he still might not be the same when he come back. The Spurs are right back to being bottom feeders in the league. They're 12 games under 500. So Houston is the only team I can talk about in Texas. The Rockets, the reason we lost last night is the reason why I won't pick the Rockets to make a Western Conference Finals run. Jalen Green is too inconsistent. He's one of the most talented players in the NBA. But when it's time for somebody to step up and take those tough shots, like last night, he runs away from the ball. And when he does come and get the ball, he takes horrible shots. And last night I'm watching the broadcast, Stan Van Gundy and all those guys calling the game. He said, I am shocked that Jalen Green is on the bench for the last 5 minutes of the game. I wasn't shocked. He took terrible shots the whole game. We're trying to win the game. When he's on the court, he's your worst defender. And that's cool most of the time because he's not just a terrible defender, but he's your worst defender. And we got better defenders coming off the bench. Tari Eason. They had to close the game out with Fred VanVleet, Dylan Brooks, Tari Eason, Amen Thompson, who was the best player on the Houston Rockets, and Şengün. And I can't fault him for that because Tari Eason is going to play hard the whole game. Amen Thompson's your best player. Can't take him out. Şengün is your second best player. Can't take him out. It'd be Jalen Green. Jalen Green is unfortunately the sacrifice that had to be made for that. And that's why I feel like until he takes that next step, and over this winning streak, he's been playing phenomenal. So I don't want to take that away from him. Averaging over 25 points a game when they're over this last 14 games. But it's these games when things start getting tight. Wayne was just on there talking about in those pressure moments, backside start getting tight. Every time we get to those moments with Jalen Green, he hasn't been able to deliver thus far. Will he be able to turn into one of those players to deliver? That's left to be seen. But as of right now, he's the reason why I feel like the Rockets aren't going to take that next step just this year. Can he come back and correct that? I'm sure he can, because he's got all the talent in the world. He's got all the tools to be a top 5 player in the NBA, honestly. All the tools. Athleticism, scoring, everything. He's got all the tools to be a top 5 player in the NBA. So we'll see how that's going to move forward with the Rockets as we get to the playoffs. But like I said, folks, I'm super excited for this playoff run to be able to watch these games. The Memphis Grizzlies had one of the more puzzling moves really that we've seen. I don't want to say all season because we did see Luka Doncic get traded in the season. But he's had one of the more puzzling. They've had one of the more puzzling moves in firing their head coach. According to reports, nobody was on the same page with Coach Taylor Jenkins. Ja wants to play one way. He wants to play another way. Jaren Jackson might want to play another way. Desmond Bane might want to play another. The Grizzlies are coming to a point where they were the young, fun team a couple of years ago when they lost to the Lakers in the playoffs. And now they've got some extremely tough decisions to make going forward. The Memphis Grizzlies, playing in a small market like Memphis, cannot afford to pay Ja Morant the Supermax and Jaren Jackson Jr. the Supermax. Because Jaren Jackson Jr. is going to get the Supermax. He's probably going to make an All-NBA team, and he's going to be on the All-NBA defensive team. Either one of those qualify you for the Supermax. He's about to get the Supermax. Ja Morant has already got a huge contract. Desmond Bane is making bank. For a third option, he's about as rich as the third option as you're going to get. Rightfully so and deservingly so. Desmond Bane is one of the most underrated players in the league. Maybe just because he got them little baby arms that people don't want to give him his credit. But Desmond Bane is definitely deserving of the contract. But you're a small market team like Memphis. You can't afford all three of those guys. You got to make a decision at some point. Somebody's got to go. Now, they've already cut the coach. How many more changes will we see with this Memphis Grizzlies? I was kind of surprised or caught off guard that you fire a coach this late into the season when your team is a top 5 seed in the Western Conference, who was just a number 2 seed in the West, I want to say a couple of weeks ago. So that move was kind of puzzling. I'm not shocked. I didn't think Taylor Jenkins was, I don't want to say a bad coach. I didn't think he was a A-plus coach. I'll say that. I didn't think Taylor Jenkins was an A-plus coach. And when you've got a talent like Ja Morant and Jaren Jr., you need an A-plus coach to be able to take that team to the next level, especially playing in a small market like Memphis, because this is homegrown talent. They've got to grow all they drafted Desmond Bane. They drafted Ja Morant. They drafted Jaren Jackson Jr. They drafted Zach Edey, Brandon Clark. All those guys, Jalen Wells, who's playing like the best rookie in the league. They drafted all these guys, and they've drafted well. I guess the front office feels like we can continue to draft well and to still be able to build our team without Coach Taylor Jenkins manning the helm. So the Grizzlies fired their coach just, a month before the playoffs started. Like, what does that say about your playoff push? How confident do you feel that you can make a playoff push with your coach just being fired? Or are you giving in on this season already, even though you've got a good record? Grizzlies are one of those teams that, just being honest, I think they might be going home in the first round. Depending on who they play, and it's really not a might. I think they are going home in the first round. As of right now, they be matched up with the Lakers. We know what that's looking like. BTA. If they don't match up with them, they could potentially match up with teams like the Golden State Warriors, the Denver Nuggets. Which one of those teams on Memphis beat? So I get it, kinda. You're like, man, we might not win anyway, so let's just go and get Taylor Jenkins out the way now. Now, I think it might be something going on behind the scenes that we just haven't figured out about yet, because firing a coach a couple of weeks before the playoff starts is kind of crazy. I haven't seen that before. I'm sure it's probably happened at some point in NBA history. I haven't seen it before. But the Grizzlies weren't going to do much in the playoffs, in my estimation anyway. I think they're a good young team, but they've got a lot of tough decisions to make coming up. Want to look at some of these games here tonight. Only got a couple minutes here left on the show. Phoenix is playing the Milwaukee Bucks right now. Kevin Durant is out for what they say probably a week, but the season's only got a couple weeks left, so probably the season. He needs to sit out for the season because he's probably going to be on the Rockets next year, but we can talk about that on another show date. They're playing Milwaukee, and I'm not going to talk about Phoenix anymore the rest of the season because they've given up on that season, so why would I waste my energy in covering them? Rematch of the Western Conference semifinals tonight on TNT. Minnesota Timberwolves, minus a couple of players, Dante DiVincenzo, Naz Reid, both suspended, taking on the Denver Nuggets. This is going to be a fun game to be able to watch. A lot of game time decisions on the Nuggets side. Michael Porter Jr., Nikola Jokic, Aaron Gordon. The whole starting five is a game time decision. I guess they're trying to figure out, do we have much to play for? Do we want to play these guys? Whatever it is. Right now, the spread is minus 3.5 going towards Denver. I'll take Denver on there, and they're playing at home. I think all those guys are going to play in that game. Philadelphia is playing New York right now. Obviously, everybody's picking New York. I wouldn't pick Philadelphia to do anything. The Portland Trailblazers, who have been kind of a surprise the last couple of months, taking on the Atlanta Hawks, who have also been kind of a surprise. Zachary Richardson, I hope I said that right, scored his career high, I believe, last night or maybe the night before that. Of course, nobody's talking about it because everybody wants to talk, but he was the 55th pick. Me just saying Zachary Richardson, most people have no idea who that is. Well, he was the number one pick in the draft. And he's having a good game. He got time to develop. Maybe like we should have gave Bronny, but I already talked about the Bronny and Bron and Stephen A and all this stuff enough, so I ain't going to talk about that no more. But I do like Denver in this game tonight. Toronto and Chicago, a game to watch, but for those of you that's making bets on this one, obviously I would take Chicago in that game. I like Orlando over San Antonio in that game as well, and that will wrap up the games that we have tonight on Tuesday. We'll get more games. Tomorrow is Wednesday, so we know majority of the NBA games will be played on Wednesday. So we'll get back in with some more of the prop bets. I had a couple tonight, but I don't want to give y'all any bad information. Wasn't a lot of games. I like to give y'all some picks whenever there's multiple games getting played. So we got a good variety of games to choose from. But those are some of the games I like here tonight. Folks, I want to thank everybody for tuning in to Centex Primetime here today. Want to thank everybody. Want to thank Rocky and Wayne for jumping on here with us here today. We'll be back potentially on Thursday, but we might be back starting next week because we have some other things we have to do here at Centex Sports Network. But we do have MCC softball tomorrow. We've got MCC baseball on Saturday coming up on Centex Sports Network. So make sure you guys are ready for that as well. Getting ready to sign off here today is Jalen Gillis here on Centex Primetime. Want to thank everybody for tuning in with us. Make sure you subscribe to YouTube as always. And you can see on the bottom of the screen there, you can follow me on Instagram at Jalen Gillis. That's where I give out a lot of my picks, and sometimes it's just memes. I don't have picks to give out. I just have some memes to post on my story. Follow me on there. Also follow Centex Sports TV over on Instagram. Signing off here today is Jalen Gillis. We will see you guys next time. Everybody have a great evening.
Sports Network. Hello, my name is Roy Gillis, CEO of Lighthouse Streaming, and you're watching Centex Sports Network.